Welcome to Next Gen Leaders podcast, where we discuss with the leaders working towards sustainability for a better, greener future. And today I have a very special guest, Dr. Vasudevan Balaji. He's a plant biotech and agtech leader with over 20 years of global experience in science, startup, and venture development. It's a great to have you here, Dr. Balaji. To start, could you please brief about your expertise?
First of all, thank you, Mohammed, for having me today in your Next Gen podcast. And the type of work you are doing, whatever I learned from you as well as from going to your website is amazing. And it's kind of the thing that needs support. These kind of support programs are important for our early stage founders, and it doesn't matter which country they are. Because most of them are hidden, they don't get visibility. So these kind of support, entrepreneurial support system is very important. So before we go deep dive into the podcast, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Dr. Balaji Vasudevan in the field of plant biotechnology for about 20 years. This 20 years is a mix of academia to start with, and then to industries. Worked in about seven companies in various stages in R&D, various levels. And then for the past about 5 to 6 years, also into venture capital and other investment stakeholders ecosystem, and also simultaneously working with global startups and scale-ups in multiple roles, in multiple capacities, as a consultant, as an advisor, as a mentor, as a startup incubator. And also I'm working at currently my full-time role is Director of Programs at First Flight Venture Center, which is a non-profit deep tech incubator based in West Triangle Park, North Carolina. The mission and objective is to empower entrepreneurs working in deep tech, not just ag and food, but all the other aspect of the deep tech as well. Empower them and support them in all the journey for them to establish, start the venture, and be successful. So, in addition to that, I also work in various VCs, as I told, like to the likes of Big Idea Ventures. I'm a due diligence expert consultant for them, and also I'm a technical expert committee in Brumas Venture Capital, which is based out of Costa Rica, and that focuses on investment in startups and scale-ups in 7 countries that constitute the Central American region, including Costa Rica, Guatemala, and other countries that part of Central America. So like that, these are some of the examples like that. I'm also associated with many other VCs in different parts of the world, in Asia, in Middle East, in Latin America, in Europe, and other parts of the world. So essentially, to sum it up, I act as a bridge connecting both partners. And one side of the aisle is all the investment stakeholders ranging from VCs, CVCs, the angels, corporate investors, and then family offices, and even university ventures. On the other side of the aisle is the startups and scale-ups in working on ag tech, food tech, agri-food tech, combined synthetic biology, climate tech, health tech, med tech, and biotech life sciences. So I provide support services to both sides and make sure that the investors find the right technology to invest, and the startups or the scale-ups find the right investors to get the capital, and also all the other support services on top of the capital for a given company to be successful.
Okay. So, sorry. You uniquely bridge the gap between science and venture capital. So when you perform scientific and technical due diligence on a startup, so what is the number one red flag in a science pitch deck that tells you founders' technology might work in a lab but will never scale in the real world?
Yeah, that's a great question, and most of the founders miss this also in their pitch deck, either pitch deck or in their executive summary or one page or whatever the materials that they separate to the investor. So there are many red flags that can pop up while we review the deck and the materials from a founder or a founding team of a given startup. So some of the key or number one or number two in the list, as I see when personally review, is that whether any potential for scaling. That's the number one thing. Is there any evidence for scaling? Is there even a smallest evidence? Because I know that these are all startups, they don't have much of the capital to do a large scale experiment to prove the point, but at least in direct and indirect way, they have the scaling potential, number one. And number two is that whether the startup has a complete idea or the roadmap for the next 5 years, 6 years. Because most of the startups, they focus on the current thing, a current problem in the hand right now, whatever they're working on. But they don't think about, for example, if you're an agri-food tech startup, most of the products that comes out of the agri-food tech company has to undergo regulation. Most, not all, but at least most undergo regulation. IP is there, regulation is there. So people don't think about, who is the customer. They
Yes.
have not done customer discovery. They just think about the R&D in the product instead of thinking what is the pain point the customer is facing and what the customer is needs in a given product, and who are the customers, where are they, and is there a market for my product, and if there is a market, which market is that, which geography I'm going to target, and most importantly also about regulation. Will my product or my technology solutions will be regulated? If yes, who
Yes.
is the regulatory body that is going to regulate, and how long it is going to take, and what are the data that should go into a regulatory dossier? So there are many things that as you review the deck comes out, but scaling, IP protection, and a consumable market, because VCs is all about, it's not free money, it's all about business, right? They're looking for
Yes.
ROI, return on investment, for the money they put in your company. So for them, the key thing they're looking for is that, particularly in the early stage company, is that is the problem that the front team is working is a novel problem, and it is a real problem that exists within the customer. And then the second thing the VC is all about team. Is the team is capable enough to do exactly what they are saying that they will do. Is the composition of team is a mixed bag of somebody who is a scientist who has R&D experience, somebody who has a business knowledge experience, somebody is a regulatory consultant, a mixed bag of everything. So that is another thing. And the other thing is that, is there a market for this solution? You might come up with an extraordinary solution, but if there is no market for that, nobody cares.
Yes.
Particularly VC is very interested in what is the size of the market, and how long it will take for you to bring the product to the market, and is there a roadmap ready? Do you have a plan A, B, C? If you work on a plan A, if it fails, if it stalls for whatever the reason, do you have a plan B? Do you have a mitigation solution to alleviate the navigate those challenges? So it's a mixed bag of everything.
Okay, so in your bio, you describe yourself distinctively as a startup hatcher and nurser. So for the early startup, like for early stage founders listening, what does that process look like practically? How hands-on are you in helping them navigate the messy transition from university concept to commercial product?
Yes, yeah. In fact, one of my previous job was at Kickstart Venture Services. That exactly is that role. Like working
Okay.
with the faculty. Of course, that was not an agri-food tech, but essentially focused on health tech and med tech and life sciences and biotech. But overall, the process is kind of similar between agri-food tech and health tech vertical. So essentially, the faculty founders or the scientists working in R&D lab, if they come up with a novel idea, novel invention, you have the IP protection for the invention. They want to commercialize the IP. That's where we come in. I come in mostly to what are the ways in order to commercialize the IP. One, you can license the IP to another company or another customer or another provider. They're going to pay royalty to your IP, and then you can make a little bit of revenue out of that. That is one thing. The other thing is that you can convert or commercialize your IP into a company, startup into a company. So that's where I try to be as helpful as possible to all these university, particularly university people who wants to develop a venture. So what does that mean is that most of the university ventures, university founders, they're all very good scientists with a great amount of technical and R&D knowledge and experience behind their back. But when it comes to developing a startup, running a business, most of them, I'm not saying everyone, but most of them lack that experience of what is that is needed in order to convert or commercialize an IP into a startup. So for example, in order to start a company, so there are many things. First, how to incorporate a company, right? How to incorporate a company, whether C corp or S corp, and what are the laws behind that? The laws vary from country to country, but essentially the startup incorporation laws. What is the knowledge about that? and how to protect the IP and commercialize the IP into a venture. What are the procedures in that? Number three is, of course, looking for the R&D lab spaces. Number four is that most important is capital, because without capital, you can have all the plan in your hand, but you need a fund. What is the source of the fund? The fund can be divided into two major sources. One is the non-dilution capital, meaning those are the grants from the national, from the central government. It could be U.S. government or Indian government, whatever is there. The government provided money, and the government doesn't take equity. That's why it's called non-dilution money. So the grants from the government, the grants from the private or the public foundations, those are the sources of non-dilution capital. And in other ways, it's a dilution capital. What is this dilution capital is all about? What are the sources? The dilution capital for early stage startup comes mostly in the form of accelerators and incubators. They take about 5 to 7% or 10% of the equity for about $100,000, $200,000 they put in a given company. National based or state based accelerators and incubators. And once they grow to a certain stage, they go to a pre-seed, seed, VC, venture capital. So most of the founders lack knowledge of the VC. What is this VC world, and how does this VC even operate, and where are these VC located, how to contact them, how to approach them? Most of the founders don't have any clue, and how long it takes even to raise a fund. For example, you want to raise a $1 million for my company. What are the steps involved in that from A to Z? How does the entire process work, and how long it takes in order to raise that money? And not only the time, but how many meetings a given company should take in with the VCs, with how many VCs, those calculations, the numbers, most of the founders, they don't know, they are not aware of. So that's where what I do is that because I had at least a little bit of experience by working on the technical side, core R&D side in the past 15 years or so. And now in the past 6 years or so, I'm also working on the other side, like on the VC side. So I kind of understand a bit of both sides. So I try to bring in my own experience from both sides, and kind of educate the founders about, and also try to share resources about the VCs, list of the VCs, their contact details. And when I'm convinced, I review the deck of the early stage founders, and then I kind of point out, the deck should be molded like this, what is missing in the deck, and how a VC will see the deck, and all those kind of things. Because most of the times, the founders, when they prepare a deck, it's heavy in scientific data, right? And scientific data should be only one slide. All the other 7 or 8 slides in a deck should be about business, how to make money. But most of the scientists, because they are all scientists from the university, they tend to spend most of the time in getting all these data graphs. VC doesn't care about all those things. It should be just one slide in a layman's terms. So I kind of educate all these things, coaching. And when I'm convinced with the deck, I do due diligence, I share the deck to the VCs in my network. I try to open the door for the founders to pitch in front of the VCs, because VCs, without warm introduction, they are not going to review your deck at all. It's very difficult to reach a VC. So you need somebody who have to back support you. That's what I'm trying to do with the founders, with both education and also giving access to the VCs, whatever I have built in my network.
The point that you have mentioned, it should not be too scientific, too technical. That's because I have discussed with other investor as well. I had a meeting yesterday as well. So she was mentioning the same thing. Majority of us are not from technical. So stop being too technical, and we only need a little bit part of that technical part. So
yes. And to add to what you said is that most of the VCs by themselves, if you see, the VC team itself, most of the people who work for the VC fund, they mostly are not scientists. They have never worked in R&D by themselves. They mostly are from finance background. Mostly. And business background. So what they do is that in order to understand the technical part, the R&D part of the given company, they hire SMEs, subject matter experts in that particular domain, to help them understand, to feed them with all the information that they want in a more simple language, not jargons. So that's how, when you present a pitch deck directly to a VC, That's how your deck should be structured in such a way that one slide should talk about the science in as simple as possible language without much complication, charts or graphs and all those kind of animations. It should be as simple, crisp as possible with some self-explanatory infographic. That's all it is. So all other things should be about business. How are you going to make money? How are you going to bring the product to the market? What is the key differentiator that you have, novelty you have in your solution that other people, other competitors out there in the market doesn't have? And is there any traction? Is there somebody, some other corporate or some other customer already showing interest in your technology solution? These kind of things the VC wants to see in a given day.
Yes. Okay. So at the Amat Science and Greenlight Bioscience, you focused on spray on RNAi technology to combat pest. So for the common people listening who worry about chemical in their food, are we close to future where farmers can simply spray RNA to protect crops without environmental damage of traditional pesticides?
That is a great question, and that is what most of the governments and the other stakeholders involved in the global agriculture, not just in one country, in most of the countries, are slowly moving towards. Because everybody knows that 90% of the crop protection market, that is the ways to protect your crops from pest and pathogen, is via the use of chemicals. Even now as we speak, 90% of the market is crop protection. Farmers uses the chemicals in terms of pesticide, insecticide, fungicide, weedicide, herbicide, or you can call these are all synthetic chemicals end of the day. But synthetic chemicals, it is very difficult to remove the synthetic chemicals completely from the agriculture now. If you remove that, you're not going to get the food. That is the truth. But what the government and all the other agriculture stakeholders are doing is that slowly phase out the removal of these hazardous chemicals, which are hazardous to the crops, to the soil, to the environment, to the other biomes, microbiomes, and the living organism out there, is to slowly phase out that and replace with the non-chemical way of crop protection and crop improvement. That non-chemical way is in general is called biologicals. The biologicals are three types. Biologicals are general name. When you classify what is this biological, they can fall under three main domains or classes. One is biopesticide, the other one is biostimulant, the third one is biofertilizer. Of the three, biopesticide is the number one or a major constituent, because that's where all these crop protection biologicals come into picture. So when you take these biologicals, traditionally these are all microbial based products. For the past 50 years in existence, these biologicals are mainly microbial derived, in some cases natural plant extract derived or seaweed derived. Those are the sources of the biologicals or biopesticides. Recently, in the past 10 years, the RNA has come into picture. The RNA acts by the RNA is not something like, it's very new now. It started the 1990s when the Nobel Prize was awarded in 1994 to RNAi. That's when RNAi came into picture and was recognized as a major, I would say, technology. So RNAi is essentially using RNA to block the expression of another RNA, which is called mRNA, that manufactures protein. If you block the mRNA, the desired protein is not made, and without that target protein, an insect or a fungus or a bacteria or a virus, any other pathogen or pest cannot survive. That is the whole essence here. So there are many companies working on using RNA to protect crop plants, and the main hurdle in using the technology in the field or by farmers was the cost of manufacturing RNA. Number one, because 10 years ago, the cost of 1 gram of the active RNA was $100,000. A farmer needs at least 3 to 5 grams of RNA to cover his 1 acre of the farmland. That means if you do the math, he has to spend $500,000 or $500,000 to cover 1 acre of a crop. And even the richest farmer in the world cannot afford to do this. So that was the main problem why RNA did not come to the market. But that's where Greenlight Biosciences and many of the other companies, there are about 20 other companies working in this field now, were able to bring the cost. And Green Biosciences, one of the premier company, was able to do that for the very first time. The same 1 gram of molecule which cost $100,000 10 years ago, now it is produced and marketed about $3 to $5 per gram. So that is the cost reduction we're talking about using patented technology. So now, as we speak, because of the reduction in the cost and other aspect of science like formulation, delivery, spraying technology, and all those other R&D processes, Greenland Biosciences was able to bring the world's very first product to the market, and right now it's available in the US, it's available in South America, and some parts of Europe as well, and slowly it's spreading across other parts of the world also. So what essentially is that this product was for potato plant against a potato bug called Colorado potato beetle. So essentially, the farmer now can spray this RNA-based product onto the potato plant instead of a traditional chemical. Exactly how we would spray the chemical, the same way you can spray the RNA onto the plant. The RNA is going to take care of the potato plants in this case against the insect pest called Colorado potato beetle, and all the data was shown to work. That's why it was approved by the EPA, and now its product is sold in the market. Similarly, there are other products in the pipeline like protection of the bees from varroa mites that carries the virus that decimates the beehives. And the other product is for about the grapevine disease called powdery mildew, which is caused by a fungus that goes and decimates all the grapevines or the grapes. So there are a lot of products appearing, and botrytis for the strawberries and other plants. So there are a lot of products that is being developed, and slowly one after the other is going to come to the market. This is an emerging field. This is not this emerging field. Probably in the next 5 years to 10 years, you can see a lot of RNA product that is going to come to the market because the cost is getting down as we speak year after year, and people are also working to improve the delivery and the efficacy of the RNA molecule against a wide spectrum of pathogens and pests. So RNA field is an emerging field. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of investment going on in this field, and there are many companies working in different ways of doing the RNA-based technology.
And one of your specific areas of expertise is plant molecular farming, essentially using plant as bioreactor to grow value-added proteins. Is this technology ready for prime time? What are the biggest barrier to turning potato or tobacco field into a pharmaceutical factory right now?
Yes, that's a very good question. And plant molecular farming, as you rightly said, using plants as a bioreactor to produce value-added proteins. It could be a pharmaceutical protein, or it could be any proteins related to food and ag purpose. And the recent past, plant molecular farming has been in existence for the past 30, 40 years if we go back. But I would say in the recent past 5 years, it has gained very significant traction because if you see the alternative protein sector, which is one of the major sector in the food tech, which consists of plant-based meat, the cell-based or cultivated meat, and the precision fermentation technology, these are the three standard pillars. Now the fourth pillar has been added. That fourth pillar is plant molecular farming. Because there are many companies out there globally in the US and outside of the US using plants as a host to produce all kinds of proteins. For example, a company called Noble Foods in California was one of the companies. They have attracted about $200 million so far. They use soybean plants to produce the milk protein called casein in soybean. Casein is a protein that is essential for converting the milk into a cheese. And that protein found in natural cow's milk, the same protein is now made in soybean seeds and soybean leaves in Noble Foods. There's another company called Miruku in New Zealand that is also using a model plant like Nicotiana benthamina, not crop plant, model plant to produce the milk, the dairy protein. Similarly, there is a company called Polopo in Israel that is using potato tuber to produce casein. And you can keep on I had an opportunity to consult 6 years ago for one of the earliest plant molecular farming company called Mulak Science based in Argentina, and that is the first plant molecular farming company to go on IPO, that meaning the stock market. Reason why? Because we were able to produce soybean expressing a myoglobin. What is myoglobin? Myoglobin is the protein that is found in beef, cow's meat,
Yes.
and pork, pig's meat. That is myoglobin in the meat. So beef and pork, we are able to express the same myoglobin in soybean seeds. That's called piggy soybean. The color also will be little bit pinkish in color because of the expression of myoglobin in them. So that is a very successful company 6 years ago. And then, as I said, it's one of the company that go for IPO. So